Hi and welcome to this week's Inbound Debate. I'm joined by Nick Pateman, Dan Holt and special guest Whiteboard Dan Holt. And as always, I am your host James McFarlane. And we're taking bets who's going to say more useful things, Whiteboard Dan or real Dan Holt. This week we're talking about Facebook and Google+, specifically them competing. And my first question is, what does Google Plus have to do, or is it doing already, to compete with Facebook on a social level? I'm going to start off with Nick.
Okay, Facebook and Google Plus, what do they have to do to compete? Well, I think that there isn't really competition here. I think the two are trying to go down two separate paths. Google Plus doesn't really want to compete with Facebook in the sense that they want to go towards a more social layer kind of approach, whereas Facebook is the social network. It is the place, a hub for social activity, whereas Google Plus it kind of just stretches across the web, probably get incorporated into Chrome pretty soon. So no, I don't think there is any competition there. I think they'll just go two separate paths, and they won't look to compete anyway.
What do you think, Dan?
I think there is competition there. I think both in both directions. So I think there's competition in terms of Facebook's graph search and heading towards the sort of search route, and I think both also as well in terms of Google Plus trying to edge into the social market. I think the problem currently is that as we've seen in the search market for the last 10 years, these markets lend themselves so much to natural monopolies. Once they've kind of entered into that sort of virtuous circle. So looking back in the last 10 years with Google, for example, the bigger they've got, the more pages they've indexed, the more data they've had, the bigger their audience, the more they've been able to invest, the more relevant the results, etc. Once that sort of virtuous circle is well underway, it's then very, very difficult, almost impossible for another competitor to come out. And I think we're already seeing exactly the same thing in the social market. I think to answer the question, Google Plus needs to do something different. I think it's too similar to Facebook at the moment.
It's doing something different. It's very, very different in my opinion. The network itself isn't what Google Plus cares about at the moment. It's more to get everyone onto the Google Plus platform, but that isn't a network.
It's not working, is it?
Well, it is. They've got millions and millions and millions of
okay,
users.
but not active users.
They're all active because they're all automatically logged in and everything like that.
Yeah, but that's meaningless.
It's not, because it's data for Google.
But if you look at Google Plus as a whole, they're trying to get people to interact from like a Google to consumer point of view. They are trying to. If you go to the Google Plus site, the hub, it's like you can add friends, circles, status updates. And what I'm specifically talking about is I agree that they can push everyone onto this platform and they'll have more data, but I think they're specifically interested in some certain social signals which you get from using a social network. Do you think they can compete on that sort of level, like the social network?
So you mean
level?
Say someone like Danny Sullivan just does a post about a website, links to that website in a post? Are you saying they want to know how valuable that is?
No, I'm talking about, I sign up to Google Plus, I fill out my profile, I'm adding my friends, I want to connect with my friends, I'm starting events, I'm talking to my friends.
So that's
about
more graph search you're looking at then?
Yeah, but I'm not talking about search, I'm just talking about from a social level, from social interaction.
Okay, so give me an example. Danny Sullivan writes a post, someone in the SEO industry writes a Google Plus post.
Yeah.
The SEO benefits of that post based on his following, based on who
I'm not talking about
I think like forget SEO.
or just social metrics.
Yeah.
And how they compete with Facebook.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I can't see how. You mentioned graph search being a competing function.
They're very,
of Facebook.
very slowly edging towards one another.
But graph search, I think
I don't think either are a serious competitor to the other.
Graph search backs up what I was saying, I think, anyway, earlier on, which is they don't want to compete. Graph search is exactly what Facebook is all about. It's about not competing. It's about finding new ground, and moving into new ground, and letting other people follow.
I think that's where Facebook have got it right and Google have got it wrong. I think Facebook are doing something new, and I think the reason why, from a social point of view, I think that's the reason why likes of Twitter and Pinterest, they've focused on a particular niche and they've done it successfully. They've not tried to replicate Facebook. I think Google Plus is too similar to Facebook, and as a result, it's only people when they're almost kind of by default when they sign up to their Gmail, they have to become part of that. I don't think they really buy into it from a social point of view.
Because you look at it like this, right? Okay, so I'm Danny Sullivan, and I update my Google Plus
Danny
profile.
Sullivan's getting a lot of action, so
I update my Google Plus profile, and a lot of like other SEO nerds will plus one it and they'll like it, right? But if I'm like a big mum blogger and I update my Google Plus profile, no one uses it. No one uses it from like a social point of view. The only reason we're on it is because we're kind of like SEO people.
Yeah, I think we're like, when you look at like Gmail for a lot of people is a work-based thing, right? Like email. Now for us, the distinction between work and social is pretty grey, right? The two things overlap massively. So inevitably, it makes sense for people like us to be quite active on that particular platform. I think for those people who just want a purely social experience, I think they've already got that through Facebook, and I think Google will have to offer something radically different in order to make it there.
Okay, my final point on this then would be that I also think Facebook and Google, they aren't doing the same thing. If you actually go to Google Plus and you use it and you drill into it, you have so much more you can do with it than Facebook. Facebook actually isn't that great. Google Plus Hangouts, for example.
No, okay, just on that point, then, my point, to sum up, I would say like they might be doing it better, but I think they need to do a better thing rather than do like the same thing. Better,
okay,
they need to do something.
Okay, guys, let's because the next point kind of follows on from this, and I've got to say, I think Google Plus has better features than Facebook, but I will still use Facebook to connect with my friends. And my second question is, for Google Plus to succeed, and when I talk about succeed, I'm talking about people migrating from Facebook on a social level to, doing all their social things on Google Plus. For that to succeed, does Facebook have to fail, or does Google Plus just have to get better? And by that I mean, if we take Google Bing, and you look that, in certain consumer surveys, people have said that they prefer Bing results, but still, people will blindly use Google because they're used to it. And for Bing to really succeed, it's kind of been said that Google has to mess up some way. People have to lose confidence in using it, privacy, things like that. And does that have to happen with Facebook, Google Plus, for people to go from Facebook to Google Plus?
I think Google Plus needs to do something with their data. I think the last year and a half or whatever it is, they've been gathering huge amounts of data. I think once they've understood it, once they've gone through it, because they can't really do it, there's so much data just coming at them, they need to be able to decipher it. So once they've managed to do that, they'll probably come out with something, something as kind of, I don't want to say revolutionary because we don't know anything about graph search yet, but they will come up with something really quite creative, and it will be based on that data. And it could also, they could start implementing ranking algorithm updates that are based on Google Plus, which would get every webmaster in the world basically using Google Plus. So you could just use that to drive traffic to their platform anyway.
I mean, before I get your opinion on this, I think it's really easy for Google to force webmasters to use Google Plus. It's really easy.
Doing it already.
But it's not easy for them to force your typical consumer to use Google Plus.
They're using webmasters to market Google Plus, because if every webmaster's using it, then everyone sees it when they go to a website. That's
the plus one. But I mean. Yeah. I mean, what do you think? Does Facebook have to fail in some way for Google Plus?
I think either Facebook have to fail, and I don't really see that happening, not on a substantial enough scale, or, like I said earlier, I think Google needs to do something radically different. I don't think there's ever going to be space in the market for two really large competing social networks where they've each got about 50% of the market, because it's exactly the same as a search market. It lends itself absolutely to a natural monopoly for different reasons. So the more users you have, the greater the social network, which by definition makes it a more effective social network, because you need all your friends to be on there for it to be worthwhile. So I think for that reason you're always going to have one dominant force, and for the time being, and let's look back at the search market, we're talking 10 years that Google's totally dominated. I think it could easily be another 5+ years before anyone threatens Facebook.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess the easiest way to look at it is if I'm creating I use Facebook every now and then to create events, and if I'm creating an event, I don't want to create an event on Facebook and then create an event on Google Plus. It's just twice as much work. So it makes sense that all of my friends are on one platform or the other, because I'm never going to switch over to the other and create events on the other, because it's just more work for me. And finally, guys, I have one last question. What would you prefer to get? A plus or a plus one or a Facebook like? Dan, I'm going to ask you.
I would have said a Facebook like, because I think most of the communities that we operate in, I think there's more value, more direct value. However, about 3 months ago, as you know, my dad joined Facebook, and he's just swamped Facebook with likes. I don't think there's been a single update that anyone's made that hasn't been liked by Rick Holt in the last 3 months. And it's just classic supply and demand. I think he's lowered the overall value of likes, so I'd have to say a +1.
Well, it's a shame. I would agree. Not for the reason.
I'm only joking, Dad. No way you're going to watch this, but he's just spreading the love. He's a positive guy.
My reasons are less like family related, probably just because Google +1s, they're quite exciting. There is going to be something in the future that lends itself to search rankings. There's going to be some kind of benefit there, and most of the areas I work in don't rely that much on social referral traffic or anything like that. So I would go down the +1 route for like the small social benefit, but mainly for like the potential search benefit.
For me, I'm all about the likes, baby. Okay, like honestly, I operate most of my network in business to consumer markets, and business to consumer is just Facebook. Like, no, there's hardly any business to consumer like on Google +1. So I'd always hope for a like, and that shares on all their friends' walls, and I get just more visibility like that. But yeah, thank you very much, guys, for joining me. This has been Nick Pateman. Whiteboard Dan Holt, thank you very much for joining us. Dan Holt, and I've been your host, as always, James McFarlane, and I'll see you next week. Bye.